Hey, douchebag Mike here. I'm with Jeffrey 3000. We're doing our Who's Zoomin' Who series. I'm here with Wingman Steve and Chris 183 from the High School Never Ends podcast. How are you guys doing?
What up?
How are we doing, Steve?
We're doing great. How are you doing, Chris? I haven't seen you in 24 hours.
I know. I see you too much.
When is your next? When does your episodes come out on Thursdays?
They come out every Thursday, yeah. And if you're awake, they hit Thursday like midnight Pacific time if you're nocturnal. So that's like 3 a.m. our time. So yeah, every Thursday.
Cool. Well, I wanted to kind of go back and start at the beginning of your friendship. You guys seem to really be fond of each other. It seems like you've known each other for a long time. So where did it begin?
I don't know, Steve. You want to tell the story? Because I think you did before, and I think it just to encompass the story, it started with me giving you a hard time in the first time we were at a work conference together. So why don't you kind of give the story, Steve?
Was it the work conference? So I guess the friendship started. I took a job in like 2009, and so I just joined this company. I guess we don't have to go into detail on who it is or whatever. And Chris had been at that company for a while. Now I live in the Philadelphia area and Chris is in Pittsburgh. So we were representative of our regions. And we were, I think the first like national sales trip was like 2 weeks into my tenure at this company. And it was in Irvine, California. And everyone just got wasted, and that's where we met, right? I think we met through work. That's the short answer.
Yep. And I kept telling you hey man, you're from New York, right? You should just talk like with a New York accent, or hey, you do all this New York stuff, and you got so mad. You're like, I'm not from there. Stop doing that.
Well, you kept saying Jersey because I worked in South Jersey, and everyone was like, "Fucking Jersey Shore, you gym tan laundry," and I'm like, I never saw that. I don't know.
That's how our friendship started, Mike. Like that.
Yes,
that's how it started.
That was it. And then it met over fantasy baseball and eventually music.
Now, being a Midwesterner, I can't tell you how many times in the last decade I've been like at a bar drinking and I meet somebody that's from Jersey and I start doing Jersey Shore shit and they look at me like they're just going to beat my ass.
I don't doubt it. I'm not from New Jersey, so I don't really like take any offense. So
practically
it is
from
what
New
it
Jersey.
is.
No, it's basically the same thing.
I mean, I'm from New York and I live in Philly, so New Jersey's in the middle. I don't have any affiliations.
Apples and oranges.
Yeah, apples and oranges.
Jeff, do you have any loyalties or?
I was born here, but we moved out when I was like 2.5, and then we just moved back 2.5 years ago. So there's like a 40-year interim in between. I don't care about this place.
Where are you exactly?
We're outside between Trenton and Princeton right now.
Oh, dude, I used to go there all the time. You're like a stone's throw away from my office, my unofficial, not my podcast office, but my real life office.
Real life, yeah, IRL.
All right, now let's move on to the podcast. When did you guys decide you wanted to do this?
So let me tell this one. So basically, Steve and I would keep in touch periodically over the years, and we stopped working together. And he would just chit chat, call me up. We'd BS for a little bit about whatever. One night, I was trying to get work done, and he called me drunk from his hotel room. I guess he was on a business trip, and we just started BSing, and we started talking about podcasting. And I'm like, man, I really wanted to get back into it. I had done it before. It kind of sucked, but I was doing it, and I hadn't done it for about a year. And he says, hey, we both like pop punk music. What do you think? And I said, let's do it. So that's kind of where it started. Just a drunk conversation. It was a half drunk conversation because I was not drunk. I was just tired. But he was drunk. And that's about it, right? I didn't leave anything out, did I?
Well, so on my end, I think so. I'll never forget this particular evening because I was on a business trip. I was in San Juan Capistrano, Southern California, like in between Orange County and San Diego, and I was staying at a Residence Inn. And I remember this exact night because for the only time that I was like there was a horrible, horrible storm in Southern California. And there's like never storms in Southern California. It's always like beautiful and sunny. And this hotel that I happen to stay at, I'm like, tired as hell. I had a long day at work. I drove, like, sat in California traffic. Finally, I get to my hotel, and the hotel has no fucking power. Power is totally out. And as a, like, mea culpa, the hotel was offering, like, free wine. And I think you were only supposed to have, like, 2. But I just kept going down and getting them because I didn't have any Netflix, didn't have anything, but my cell phone worked. And as Chris said, we kept in touch over the years. And I knew that he had done podcasts before. And I was always kind of itchy to, like, maybe be a guest on the ones that he was on, but I wasn't sure at this point in time if they were still going, what the topics were. So yeah, we were just exchanging text messages, and then it was kind of one of those drunk, we should do a podcast. And then, you know, there's, like, scribbled down notes on the residents in San Juan Capistrano notepad about let's talk about Blink-182 and Green Day. Oh, I like Green Day. And yeah, came up with this concept, and then we just ran with it.
Fantastic. And how many years ago was this?
Like one and a quarter.
I guess I was just more curious if this was something like Jeff and I accidentally came up with this idea to do this show like deep in lockdown, you know. And I know that there's been a lot of podcasts that have come out and different activities that have come out just purely from everybody being stuck at home. But I had you guys carry yourselves like you've been doing it for a lot longer. So.
Yeah, my stupid name, Wingman Steve. Thank you, douchebag Mike. The stupid name, Wingman Steve, comes from I was on so Chris had done a podcast. He had done this before, and I used to be in college, and a little bit afterwards, I was on a local radio station. So I've done, like, we've both done some of this before, but never, I guess, in this capacity. And you know, we started right before the pandemic, so it was. Our first episode was January of 2020, and we were going to go every other week simply because I traveled for work. There was no way we were going to be able to work out the timing. And then the pandemic happened. We're like, well, we're both home. Like, let's keep doing it. And that's why we're weekly now.
Nice.
Fantastic.
May I quickly inquire, what you said you did radio in college and afterwards. Did you do one of the Penn State station or something else?
It was no, not college radio. How dare you? No, it was it was the local state college radio station. So it was called Hot 103, Central PA's number one hit music station, and I was on the morning show. And I was like, at first I started off as, like, you know, the number one asshole. There's, like, the guy and then the asshole guy next to him, where you know, we used to travel around and we would put, like, we were like stunt boys, you know. I would try and eat a pound of fruitcake or drink a gallon of chocolate milk. Or one time the lottery was really big. We put lottery tickets inside balloons and we taped them all over my body. And we went to these offices, and these women, like, would hit me with the bat to try and get the lottery tickets. So that was the kind of thing. And then, like, when that kid graduated, I became, like, the number one guy, and I had a little sidekick. But Wingman Steve, like, I was his sidekick. That's where that really started.
Nice.
I just really wanted to say, when I came up with Jeffrey 3000, it made me laugh so many times.
Chris, were you happy about Chris 183?
So I'm laying in bed trying to get up one morning, and I get 1,000 text messages from Steve, like he always does. Hey, you got to pick a name. You got to pick a name. You got to pick. What's your name? I'm like, my name's Chris. Just go with Chris. No, that's not good enough. You need a name. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, what am I don't know. Like, Chris 182. It's you know, Blink. No, you can't use that. That's too close. I'm like, dude, 183 then. I don't care. You know? I
thought I wanted you to do 182 and you wanted to do 183 just to, like, stick it to me. Like, I'm not going to do that.
That's
I'll
not
do
the way I
one better.
remember it. No, that's not the way I remember it. But anyway, that's what it is. It's my name, and we're stuck with it.
So life after people, when the aliens are finally archiving all of our digital stuff, they're going to think your name is your name because you were pissed off and stubborn, is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
All right. Now, moving on, I forgot, the entire title of your podcast, Steve, if you want to just dip your head down a little bit so we can see your sign. It's the Pop Punk Dad podcast. And there are 4 punk rock dads in this Zoom meeting right now. So I definitely wanted us to kind of elaborate on that a little bit. I watched PJ Masks today, some Tangled, and we finally, since I got to podcast with you guys, I finally got my daughter to watch a new movie. I got her to watch Croods 2 and both Incredibles movies, which I assumed she would like, but she never ever wanted to fucking pick up. So I've been stuck at home with my 3-year-old since March. So we're looking forward to our 1-year anniversary of that. And I guess I'll just move over to you, Chris. What do you have going on in your life as a punk rock dad?
Oh my God. I mean, look, I got my hands full over here with these 3 kids. They're all over the place. I don't know, activities are every night and every day, every hour of my life. And I don't know which way to turn, what time to go where, who to pick where up, and who's playing what sport. But I do my best to kind of juggle that. Our show, me and Steve, he's very demanding, guys. So I got to make sure I'm on point with my research for the show. And
Fourth child.
Yeah, I have a job too. I got to figure out time to do that. But no, the kids are great. I mean, I got a 17-year-old daughter over here that we're trying to get to listen to a lot of this early 2000s pop punk music as we go. It's really interesting to hear her feedback on that. So a little bit of that. And then my younger 2, they're at each other's throats. They're twins. So it's just kind of keeping them apart during the day. They're school from home. So keeping them apart during the day, making sure they're doing their work, and making it so they're not freaking playing Fortnite every minute of my entire life.
No, your 17-year-old, can you name an artist where she was just like, fuck no?
Yeah, I wanted her to listen to The Used, and she just was not into that at all.
Smart girl.
Yeah.
You don't like The Used?
Shit.
Now, I recently fell into, as we all do these days, musical trips down memory lane, and I started listening to Mest, which when I was 17, Mest was like untouchable. And I knew, without having to go revisit it, that it was like kind of lame, kind of plastic pop punk music. But it wasn't until, a couple weeks ago I listened to Mest, and I was like, God damn, this is pretty bad. There's a lot of nostalgia.
Come on, man.
A lot of nostalgia.
Fucked F-U-C-T. Fucked up kid. F-U-C-T. That holds up, my friend. That's not a curse word.
You got the lyrics all the lyrics to the songs are like straight out of a Cracker Jack box. It's like he listened to one Goldfinger song. It was like, you mean if I get neck tattoos and dye my hair blonde, I can be a hero?
So I guess Tony Lovato's not coming on this show anytime soon.
I was going to. I Facebook messaged him and he never read it, but he is friends with one of my buddies. He just won't watch this one because it's, about 2 losers that have a podcast.
If I had Spike's blonde hair, maybe he would.
We should all do it.
Tony, come on our podcast. I will dye my hair blonde and spike it.
I played a show with Mest. Well, it was Messed with Rome. It was like just Tony and a backing band. They sounded good. He had a good attitude. So I have nothing but love for Tony and his very elementary songs. Jeff, would you like to move us on to your punk rock dad lifestyle?
Oh, golly. Yeah, so my kid, she's 9 in less than a month. And she's all doing virtual school from home, and like my office, which normally you'd see me in, Mike knows what it looks like, is like technically our dining room. Like we don't have a table in there. It's just my drawing table, the printer, my computer, and 3 monitors. I'm an illustrator, bookshelves, and then like to my right across the room by the staircase is her desk. So I hear everything that she's doing all day long, and because she knows I'm there, she's always like something exciting. She'll literally just get up from the lesson and run over to me and talk to me about it. I'm like, you got to go back, kind of thing. So, it's just trying to keep, she's at the cusp of like being thrust into having to use technology that she hadn't used before, the Google Docs and things like that. So it's like helping her navigate that. And then they started them doing this coding program, which is themed on Minecraft, but it's not Minecraft. But all the kids in the class went like ape shit over Minecraft. So I got my in-laws to get her an Apple gift card so she could get Minecraft for Christmas. And now like every waking moment, kind of like Fortnite, every waking moment, can I play Minecraft now? Can I play Minecraft now? She just woke up, you know, like, time for bed kind of thing, but it's always just Minecraft. So it's been my life. The Minecraft's a new thing. It's just kind of different, but that's been my life for like the past 10 months, you know, that and spend half the morning looking for news for the site, the other half drawing. That's it.
Now, I guess my daughter's closer to 4 now than 3, but I got her to play Katamari Damacy for PlayStation for like 3 minutes the other day. And she was actually pretty good at it. But I like got a video of it, you know, the tier, and then the 3 minutes passed, and she was just like, you know, I want to play with a cardboard box. but I'd like to add what Jeff is dealing with in particular, guys. Jeff used to comfortably work at home by himself before all of this. So then his family came home and shit all over his life instead of, you know, these different situations that we're all in. So we're here for you.
It was nice.
Yeah, no, I miss driving to and from work, I think, more than I missed most things right now, because that's when I like, you know, scream Kesha in my car by myself. Like, it's like, and I don't have that anymore. I don't ever feel like I'm fully alone. Steve, let's move over to you.
I can relate to several of these things. First off, I used to have a 45 to 50 minute drive to and from work, and that would be where I would listen to a bunch of music. I'm obsessed with the Howard Stern show, so I would listen to as much of that as I could every single day. And then, Jeff, what you're saying about the coding is like my daughter's 5, and like so she started kindergarten virtually, and now she goes in 2 days a week. It's only for 3 hours, but they've like introduced her to a coding app. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And she's like showing me they're creating these little like fuzz balls that are like, you know, these little. Are they pushing coding on like the entire like human race? Is this like an initiative that's coming down from above? I didn't realize that was a thing.
Well, the newly elected president is trying to get us to inject this like microchip in our bodies,
right? and the coding is how you control them.
And so your kid is actually a Chinese immigrant.
Mine, I saw her be born. I don't know if that's true.
Before I came back to the States, I was in the UK and I was working IT at a very posh private school, although they call them public schools over there. I don't know why. And so one of the teachers told me the reason they're pushing coding is because it makes the students think sequentially through problem solving. You know, that like they look for that, and like they're like, you know, the school started for boys age 7. They don't allow girls in until they're 16, and they only do the last 2 levels of class. It's a goofy thing, but yeah. So that's the whole thing. Is like the idea is that it teaches you to sort through problems sequentially.
All right, I guess that makes sense.
I guess it works. I mean, you know, pedagogical or whatever they call it. It's that's their rationale. I don't know.
Now, Steve, I interrupted you to talk about QAnon, so you can continue.
Let's not talk about that. Yeah, I mean, it's similar to everybody. You know, I had a job where I was traveling, you know, kind of like every other week for a couple of days. I was in an office that was an hour away. So now everybody's home, you know, so I can work from my laptop. I can be in any room. My wife's a designer. She does all of the custom artwork for the show. And so she's, as a designer she's stuck behind a computer. So she's a little less mobile. So I'm trying to help my daughter work the Zoom and do her like little breaks with her. And then, you know, if I don't have a call or something like that, try and entertain. But, you know, it's been a handful. And, you know, just as far as being like a punk rock dad, I'm always getting yelled at for singing. They all want to shut me up. My wife, my daughter, I'm like, we did an episode on Finch and I'm running around screaming what it is to burn. They're just like, shush, shut up, stop singing all the time. And I'm like, no, I can't. So that's how it is.
My wife has that thing where like there are certain movies that my daughter watches all day that I don't think my wife has ever not sung along to. So like, I don't know. I don't sing out loud very often unless I'm singing to my dog while like making out with him or like actually doing music for reals. Yeah. So I hear a lot of the same songs being sung by my.
I listened to like my Spotify thing, like the Wrapped for last year. It was all like Aladdin. And then this year is going to be The Greatest Showman. Like all the Greatest Showman songs I know by heart. And they're actually pretty good. God. That's a good movie. And I'm walking around the house and like my daughter insists that I put it on at every waking moment in the car. And then God forbid I start sewing. This is the greatest. She's like, no, I just want to listen. Stop singing.
No, did you know? I got an email.
You don't like that?
Not The Greatest Show. No.
I got an email today from Spotify because Spotify has finally introduced like a kids account. And I think it was solely because people were so pissed off that Smash Mouth was on their top 10 for the year because of, the Shrek soundtrack. So I'd be curious to see where that goes. But yeah, brothers, I feel your pain. I can't imagine my daughter being in kindergarten. She's like almost ready to be there, but I can't imagine keeping my job at the same time. But then again, I do feel guilty every day, like handing her a tablet or a cardboard box and being like, okay.
Listen, you'll figure it out.
Here's a knife.
Learned that we will figure it out. So it is what it is.
My daughter did wield a knife during the pandemic. There was a one moment that she had a giant knife in her hand, and it wasn't for very long, but it was like Lifetime made for TV movie moment. I was like, my daughter's gonna stab me.
Of course, you got to make sure that she can do that. Do you? Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you guys. So do you play music in the car with your daughters, with your kids? Do you play their music or do you try and like mix in some of your own?
I'll go first because my daughter doesn't let me play music. And I told you guys that when I was on your podcast, but it's as far as my Honda CRV is concerned, if she is in it, it's Last Friday Night by Katy Perry, or California Girls by Katy Perry, or AFAF by Thirst Things First, which I used to be really proud of. Jeff?
So I typically don't play her music in the car. I just don't have the time to find it. When my wife's in the car and she's in the passenger seat, we'll kind of like have a rotation. We'll pick out a song that the kid wants to hear and my wife wants to hear, I want to hear, kind of thing. But my kid likes a lot of the music we listen to, both me and my wife. So she'll call out those songs. Now, occasionally some of the songs she picks out that my wife likes aren't songs that are very good. They're like these obscure kind of like club techno songs, and the lyrics are really bad. But my kid loves it. Like the one she asks for every single time she's in the car. But then again, she likes the music I listen to in her car. Like one time we were listening to some Science Club, and then she was like, Alex or Allison came on, and she loves that song, so she's singing along with that. I'm like, yes, that's my girl. I feel kind of bad sometimes when they swear, but then I'm like, she hears it from us anyways.
Yeah.
These people are putting it in front of music.
When I could listen, when I had the ability to choose, because my daughter was so small that she couldn't argue, I was the one that like got her to daycare in the morning before work, because I worked at like 11 a.m. and my wife worked in the standard morning. So that's when I really got to like play Maiden and like sing falsetto at her. And it wasn't until I started listening to that kind of trite later discography Real Big Fish music where Aaron's just like kind of phoning it in, and that's when my daughter started saying fuck for the first time, and that was the first time in my life that I was like, oh, I actually need to start paying attention to this for the first time.
Chris has a trick he uses.
It's the volume. You just got to know when the volume, just turn it down and up real quick, or just cough or that sort of thing. Yeah.
Or say like a word that's not as bad.
Or what I do is I try and start a conversation. Like I ask a question really loud on top of it. Like, Hey, so what was that thing the other day that you talked about that I can't remember? Oh yeah, well, hey, what are you guys hungry for? Because I'm thinking about stopping.
Cocksucker, motherfucker.
And then I just stopped.
It's funny because I totally gave up on that. Like the other day, I took her out. We were just running to the library so I could drop off a book. She wasn't going in or anything. But I was listening just solely to the Frank Turner part of the West Coast versus Wessex split between him and NoFX, where he's doing the NoFX songs. And Perfect Government came on, and he's, that song's got like fuck every verse in it pretty much. And I'm like, I got my hands on the wheel. And I'm like, what am I going to do here? What am I going to do? I look back at her and I was like, fuck it. And I just let it go. So it's Frank Turner going, who the fuck are you anyway? And she's just like,
she'll be okay. Right.
Singing along. So.
Steve, what's your car ride sound like?
I since my daughter was little, I always would like sing her song at bedtime, and I created like her a custom playlist. And honestly, most of the playlist is like stuff that I like that she could deal with. So I have the acoustic Mest album on there. Anything that's acoustic is on there. And then of course she's been adding to it now that she knows how to operate my phone more than she should. So there's all the Disney songs at the end. But so sometimes, like very rarely will I put on like my music. I'll fight, like half of the time it'll be like what she wants to listen to. Sometimes she's like, put on my playlist and put it on random. Like now she likes the thing about random, which works out perfectly for me because there's like Yellow Card and, all this stuff that I like on her playlist. But usually like we talked, Mike, in the episode about like a neutral point. The neutral point is usually like pop rocks on Sirius XM. If I'm like, I'm not listening to The Greatest Showman right now, I'll just leave pop rocks on. I don't want to hear anything about it. And that's that. But I have control much less often than I would like.
Yeah, no, and heard that. And to go back to your child learning how to use your phone and even coding, watching a 3-year-old like navigate a tablet is completely blowing my mind. Because she's better at that than I am. She's better at that than she's at walking at this point. And so this generally, I don't know if you've ever given your child a toy and they're like, what the fuck? The touch screen doesn't work. And you're like, it's because it's not a touch screen. They're not all touch screens. But I find it very interesting that, this generation is literally going to grow up, thinking that they can swipe anything that they want to. So moving back,
both an iPhone and an Android, because my wife has an Android and I have an iPhone, so she can operate both of them.
Do you remember when every time you got a new cell phone, you had to learn how to type on it for the first time ever?
Yes.
Back when we were in Penn State College, I was working IT in an orthopedics group, and all the doctors wanted the new devices that were coming out. They all had Blackberries before, but then the iPhone came out, and they're like, "Oh, I want an iPhone." But then, like, one of the guys is like, "Oh, but BlackBerry has the BlackBerry Storm coming out," and it had, what's his name? The guy who played from The Office, the tall, doofy one who liked the receptionist.
Rainn Wilson.
What's that?
Oh, Jim.
John Krasinski. John Krasinski. He was the actor who was like doing the commercial, and like they're like, "What's that?" It clicks, and the gimmick was the screen. You could press it down, and it would have this like haptic response where it clicked. So they're like, well, let's get one of those and we'll make Jeff try it out. And I had to use this thing for like 3 weeks, and it was like the biggest piece of shit in the world. Cause it's like you literally had to click. Like it didn't have like, couldn't just gently touch it. You had to press down on the screen. So it was like typing it, but you had to make it respond. The whole screen would move though.
I remember that one.
And it was like, that was like the worst, like I'm learning how to type something again experience I ever had in my life. And after like 3 weeks, we gave it to like one of the physician's assistants, and gave it to him. And then all the doctors got iPhones instead.
There was one point in our when we worked together. Do you remember when the flip BlackBerry was like the company cell phone that everyone had to use?
Yes, the style. I love that phone, and I don't know why I loved it, but it just seems so cool to have a BlackBerry that would flip open. I don't know. I just got used
I had the Nokia that had like Snake on it. I had that thing for so long that I knew how to text message somebody. I could like sext at work under my cubicle, like without even looking at my phone.
Like Matt Damon Departed.
Yeah. Technology freaks me out.
Talking about the big one, where did you keep that? Was that in a belt clip for you, or is that in your pocket?
Oh, I kept it in my pocket, or it was probably in my fucking handle. It was the one where you could take the faceplate off and replace it with like a camouflage one, or
the Nokia, right? Yeah.
Like I think it got run over by a car and it still worked. I would kill for an iPhone that's just shaped that way too, but I don't know. Let's after we're done going around and saying all of our favorite cell phone models, because that's super interesting for the viewers. I'd like to go back to the podcast. And Jeff, you can jump in on this and represent our site as well. What are some dream guests for the High School Never Ends podcast? Let's start with you, Chris.
I got John Feldman is my dream guest right there. So I don't know how you feel about Goldfinger. Kind of got weird vibes, but
oh, you got what?
Weird vibes from what you said before, but
no, I absolutely adore Goldfinger, and I think that John is very smart. I think just the manner in which he's decided to continue Goldfinger as a career in order to make money and feed his family also involves him maybe sacrificing a little bit of honest songwriting and maybe a little bit of edge to what they have to offer. But I'm a fan of the new album. It's a lot better than the last one. But I might have a hookup for Feldman for you guys. I don't know.
Oh my God.
We got to interview this amazing kid in Sweden. He's the guy that put out that Tony Hawk Pro Skater documentary that just came out. It's really good if you haven't seen it. Yeah. It's worth the like $6 on iTunes or whatever. Okay. Ludwig Gurr is his name. So he went somewhat viral by just doing these really, really good Tony Hawk playthroughs on YouTube. They're really in depth. They're like an hour. He like beats the whole game in one sitting. And he started doing a Tony Hawk documentary. And somehow a friend of a guy of a producer like contacted Tony Hawk directly. And so Tony Hawk was like, "Oh, I want to be a part of this. We should make this really good and really in depth." And so what was supposed to be a video game documentary turned out to be this epic skating documentary as well. And so I got to interview him like a week before the premiere. And as you guys know, you just like ask for $1 million right away when you have a guest. So I was like, yeah, and if you can get Millencolin on there and John Feldman, if you could ask Tony Hawk to jump in on the Zoom too. And he's like, I'll see what I can do. and finally his like representative or something was like, all right, so far I only have John Feldman and Ludwig. And I was like, that works.
That works.
And then as you also know how these things work, I got an email like an hour beforehand. It was like, John Feldman's busy, so he's not going to make it. It's like, okay. Yeah. And then Jeff was like, hey, I killed myself earlier today trying to work around my family, so I'm not going to be able to make it either. So the Zoom was great. It was just me and Ludwig. We talk about our favorite Tony Hawk levels, but almost had Feldman for a second.
Yeah.
That'd be good for me. I would take that. I would take that close. That close. But no, that would be definitely my dream guest. So
what do you think, Steve?
What do you think?
Are we talking about like potentially obtainable guests or like dream unobtainable guests? Or because I have both.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, give me both.
Give me both. Yeah.
I would say so we have been lucky enough to have a handful of guests. Listen, we're not connected to the music industry at all. We're two dudes that like this music. And we've done this from the ground up, scraping and scrapping on Instagram and whatever. So we got Sean from the Matches came on. We had Mark from Spitalfield on. We had Tim from Alistair on. And we had Adam from Homegrown on. Chris Fafalios from Punchline. I'm not name dropping or anything, but we were pretty proud of that. But I would say there's like this tier of potentially attainable guests, which I think would definitely include Tony Lovato. I would say the person who I really wanted, who definitely ignored some of my messages, which I'm going to still try, would be Kenny Vasoli from the Starting Line. I would love to talk to Kenny because I've I've loved the starting line for a long time. And they're fairly local. I mean, if you wanted me to like drive to where he lives, I potentially could if we both wear 2 masks. So I think unattainable. Chris we would joke back and forth. I'm like, I want to get Kenny. And Chris would say, I want Tom DeLonge. Tom, Mark Hoppus, Gabe Saporta. I feel that those are probably not attainable, but those would be some dream guests.
Ryan Key,
I don't even know what the
him
fuck I'd ask them.
You wouldn't throw Ryan Key in there too? You wouldn't throw him in?
Ryan Key. Wow. Sorry, Ryan. If you're listening to this, I forgot you. Yeah, Ryan Key, that would be great. But he does like so much shit. Like he's not coming on our podcast. He's too busy. He's got a Patreon account. I'd have to like pay,
I'm busy and I do the show.
I think you'd be surprised how bored everybody is right now. But and to refer to things as tiers, I think definitely Jeff and I understand in a lot of ways. But it's funny because I said I was so stoked to interview Adam Lorbach from Homegrown that I called him Adam from Homegrown like 4 times, which is like super lame. And that's when I said, he was finally like, really don't get why you're excited about this, dude. Nobody gives a fuck who I am. But so
he was so cool. We were trying to set up the audio with him, and he's like, dude, just call me on my cell. Here's the number. And I'm like FaceTiming with Adam Lorbach. I'm like, this is happening. But yeah, he was super cool.
Awesome. Okay. Jeff, what do you think? Who would you love to have a Zoom meeting with?
Jeez. I don't know. I mean, there's like accessible. There's a lot of up and coming artists and acts that I would totally want to get something going on with. But like, and I think there's potential for us to do it. So I don't even know if I'm going to name names on that. I think inaccessible. I would really, really would have loved to have a Zoom meeting with Dave Brocky, aka Odor Sarungus from Guar, because that guy's a kick, but he's dead.
Yeah.
But in these COVID times, who knows? Maybe we can resurrect him.
Hologram.
Yeah. I would really, I think, especially after the ride came out, I would really have liked to have gotten more members of Bad Cop, Bad Cop. Mm-hmm. I think with that album, they had a lot to say, and I really want to ask them more about it. Because we got Lynn on. You got Lynn on. You and Tifa. That was, if I recall correctly. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's so many.
Well, Lynn gave me her cell phone number so we can talk about Vietnamese food some more. So
nice.
I'll start harassing her until she blocks my number. And before I move on, did either of you guys? I know Jeff didn't watch it, but did either of you watch the Starting Line based on a true story stream?
I have tickets to the last one. I've seen. So being in Philly, I have the distinct pleasure of being able to see the Starting Line pretty much every single Christmas time, because they always do in either Philly or New Jersey. They do a Christmas concert. So in the past like 10 years, they're not even really a band, but they always do this at Christmas. So I think I've seen them 6 or 7 times. So I bought a ticket. The last one. I don't know when this Zoom is going to air, but the last recorded stream thing that they're doing is this Friday, and they're calling it the best of. So it's like probably their like hits. So I didn't see the Direction one. I didn't see Based on a True Story, other than some like videos that people posted. But I'm in for the best of one.
No, I did. I watched the best of me, or sorry, the Based on a True Story one. My wife and I watched it. It is my favorite record for a lot of reasons. And I know that there was a lot of controversy when it came out. I mean, there were teeny bopper girls going crazy because Kenny grew his hair out and stopped, bleach spiking it, Feldman. And, but also just, some dodgy lyrical decisions that he made at a very young age. And also just this was their sophomore record. They were on a major. They dealt with a bunch of A&R guys. So on this stream, they're very transparent about it. They even say like, hey, we're going to play this song the way that it was supposed to be recorded until a bunch of assholes changed it. So it's super cool. But
what song was that?
The World. which was
Okay.
one of my favorite songs from the record. They said that it's their least favorite. They said that it shouldn't have ever been written. Apparently it was like the label was like, we need a single, and they wrote that as like a fuck you. But after listening to it, after they said that, you get some new perspective, and you're like, oh, this is kind of like a manufactured song. But it was very interesting. But also, as somebody that tried to get Kenny Masoli to like email my wife on her wedding day, I know, like, I think he's a little unattainable because I think that he's just kind of a hermit now, and I don't think he likes human beings as much. But yeah, that was an excellent stream. I think you guys would really like that. And I think it's around until the end of the week or something. But
it's around, I think it's till like February 5th. You can go. You can go and watch it. And I've had some moments with Kenny. I saw him live a couple times and like gushed like a little schoolgirl when I've met him, very embarrassingly. But having the podcast and not having live shit, like I can't go up to, like I had a plan. I was supposed to see the Ataris in March in Atlanta, and I was gonna like just go up to Chris Rowe and be like, hey, can I just ask you 2 questions from my little podcast? And like, maybe he says yes. I don't know. And
Slap the phone out of your hand.
That comes back.
That's what he did.
What's that?
He would just slap the phone out of your hand, like, get out of here.
And throw a kick drum at you.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, you had your chance at Kenny, Steve. You saw him, right? You just happened upon him in his other band, didn't you?
That was but I mean that was pre-podcast, and that's what I'm talking about. I happened to go to a concert and for this band, the Asteroids Galaxy Tour. My wife liked them, this indie band, and we were there a little early, getting a couple drinks, and Vacationers opening up. I'd never heard of Vacationer. I just look on stage like, holy shit, that's Kenny, and and then I said some nonsense to him at the merch table. Oh my god, I love the starting line. Love it.
Well, I think that is for the 4 of us. I think that being able to interview artists is a lot of redemption for the times that we had to like light our own hair on fire just to try to be cool around these people. Jeff.
No, let's be fair. I did that for all the local bands in the garages and basements we played in, and only did it once at a big show, and that was so I could get money to buy a t-shirt.
Worth it. All right, so moving on. Punk rock dads here. I wanted everybody to go around. We deal with some flack from adults that might point their nose at somebody that listens to pop punk or punk rock music, because it's not eloquent enough for them or something. So I kind of wanted to go around a top 3 list of albums that you would hand a non-believer, I'll call it, and just say, all right, this shit's good. Admit it. We'll start with you, Chris.
This is the toughest thing I've ever done. So, by the way, thank you for putting me in this position.
I like that I say top. Like, give me 3 just really good records. And Chris is like, I've analyzed these graphs to determine which 3 are actually the most significant.
And
I don't know, because
go ahead.
Mike hit me with this question earlier. He's like, yeah, I asked these guys, and I guess I should ask you too, so you're ready for it. And now all day I've been like, fuck. Like running around in my head. What am I going to say? All right, sorry, Chris.
No, you're good. You're good, man. And look, I mean, Mike, I guarantee you're gonna disagree with all 3 of these, but that's okay because I'm going into it just assuming that. But that's cool. But okay, so can't miss albums. Basically, something I would give to somebody that doesn't like this kind of music. Took a lot of thought, but my first one was Green Day, Insomniac, and the reason I picked Insomniac is because for me,
it's the best one.
It's the best one. That's number 1. I think it gave you everything that you liked from Dookie, and it just made it better. It was like just the best transition from that album to the next. Obviously, Billy Joe's voice is just super infectious, and how could you not like it? And, songs from Armitage Shanks to 86 to Stewart and the Avenue to even Westbound Side. These are just fantastic songs. This is a front to back album that you can't stop listening to and usually don't skip any songs on it. So that would be my first one. These are in no particular order, I guess. My second one, and look, I don't know if you consider this band pop punk or not, but Goldfinger is self-titled. So, this album, when I got it, I was blown away just beyond belief. Like, it just blew me out of the water. It's I don't want to say it's the first album I ever heard that was similar to this, because this was 96. I was into some other stuff then, but man, this album was just unbelievable. We talked about John Feldman. I think he anything he touches turns to gold. This was just, I think he's a master at his craft, and I think this was a reflection of that. I was actually turned on to this band because of a live performance I saw first at a local concert, and kind of transitioned into buying the album. But anyway, you know, I can't say enough good things about this. So many good songs. I could list them all. Mabel, it's a goofy song, but it was just so good. For
that's my beef with New Goldfinger though, is that you can hear how hungry he is on that record.
Yeah.
And it's because that record's fucking flawless, but also because he was like fucking slumming it. You know, he was pushing as hard as he could to get this record out. So anyways, no beef with John or New Goldfinger, but that's why old Goldfinger is so good. And
so good. So that one, and then I think the last one, and I had to throw a Blink-182 one in here because, again, one of my favorite bands of all time. But my particular album that I would hand to you as one you have to listen to is Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. And the reason for that is I just felt like, you know, why not Enema? Why not Dude Ranch? Well, I just felt like this kind of combined the best of both and put it into one album. And I don't know, like, this is an album, again, I kind of judge it on, will I listen to this front to back and enjoy every single song on the album? And this is definitely the Blink album that I feel that way the most. Blink songs are Blink songs, right? And it's funny because this is kind of split half and half. I'm more of a Tom guy than I am a Mark guy. But this is split 6 and 6, so I'm getting half the album of my favorite singer, but the Mark stuff is awesome too. So beyond that, you know, I had a couple honorable mentions, but I'm not going to talk about them in case they're on your list. So that's my 3.
No, I think that's fantastic. And I don't disagree with any of those, to be honest with you.
Cool.
I think maybe on your podcast, I had a couple too many hard seltzers or something. Maybe I was a little too hard on you. So Jeff, near the end of our podcast, Chris was like, Tom or Skiba? And I was like, Blink-182 should break up. And I didn't mean that as you know, an anti-Blink person, but just more like the ship ran its course. Or they can continue to, you know, pump out auto-tune radio stuff and make money, and that's awesome. And then they get to go on stage, and that's whatever. But I will add, I have a funny story that I really like telling. When Take Your Pants Off and Jacket came out, the track listing got leaked or, you know, announced. And there's a lot of tracks on the record. And I found it on... not Napster. This was right after Napster when we used like Bear Share and LimeWire and just completely fucking destroyed our parents' computers. So I found every song, and the song lengths were all the same, right? So I knew it wasn't going to be like "Come On Eileen" by Say Ferris, but named a Blink cover, you know, like things were back then. So I downloaded it. It took like 76 hours or something. 56K. I got home from school. I think I actually left school early to go home and listen to it. And I pressed play on track 1, and it was Wesley Willis singing "Suck My Dog's Dick." Only it had been like copy pasted, so it was like 3.5 minutes, however long the first anthem part 2 is. And so I went to track 2, Online Songs. And it was Wesley Willis singing "Suck My Dog's Dick," only it had been stretched out, so it was like 2 minutes long. And to this day, I think that it was Tom DeLonge that did it. Like leaked this unfortunate version of the Blink record. Like my parents probably spent so much phone bill, like just they probably missed like important calls from relatives because I was hogging the line so I could download "Suck My Dog's Dick" by Wesley Willis 16 times.
Oh my God.
What do you mean Auntie Janine died on Wednesday? What are you telling us on Saturday? Oh, it's been busy.
Pepsi, suck my dog's dick. So, anyways, Chris, that was a really good list. I liked it a lot.
Yes, very good.
Jeff, move to you.
All right. For some of these, I'm gonna go a little bit old school, a little bit older. For the top one that I would throw into someone's hand would be Screeching Weasel, My Brain Hurts. I think that is one of the biggest progenitors of the pop punk movement to come from the late 80s, early 90s. I think front to back, it is one of the most perfect albums. Dan Panic's machine gun drumming, so precise, so quick. Cindy's on methadone, fun song. I think the important thing is taken from it. It's got a little bit of that snot from the 80s punk, but the songs are played pretty seriously all together. I mean, there's a song "Don't Turn Out the Lights," which is like from a child's point of view, like, you know, don't leave me alone in the dark kind of thing, which I think Blink-182 kind of did, like they tried to do their own version of, with Aliens Exist, and I think it's like a quarter of the song of "Don't Turn Out the Lights." It's the same concept, but and then Science and Religion, My Brain Hurts, are just phenomenal songs from start to finish, and it's a really catchy album. That's the thing. It was produced well considering the time, and it sounds really good. And then in no particular order going on, I'm a really, really big fan. I'm very bullish on this Northern Ireland band, No Matter.
Yeah.
I reviewed their album, their 2016. No, when did Ill Advised come out? 2016. They put out an album, Ill Advised, and I compared it to My Brain Hurts, in that I got the same feeling of excitement and enjoyment listening to this album that I did when I heard My Brain Hurts the first time back in '91. And what's great about them is they have three vocalists. There's the main vocalist, Dan, who's got the kind of like nerdy, kind of Weasley voice, kind of typical punk. But then there's Jarlath, who's got a really nice, good singing voice. And then there's Kat, the female bassist, who also has got a great singing voice. And they split almost all the songs on the album almost evenly for main vocals, but then they do backup vocals for each other. And it sounds really, really good. And they're just fun and energetic. That's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to go back in time a bit. All Roy's Revenge. All was kind of like, what I like about All is like they took Descendants after Milo went to school, get his PhD, all that stuff, and they took the serious stuff of Descendants and left the kind of like childish stuff by the wayside. And it was okay. Dave Smalley was a good vocalist, but Scott Reynolds is my favorite All vocalist by far, and All Roy's Revenge is poppy, it's catchy, it's put together really well. The songs are very compositional, and Scott Reynolds' just delivery on the lyrics are just excellent. So I think that would be another one that it's not, unlike the other 2 bands, it's not super loud and it's not super hard. And I think people would kind of get into that. In fact, a lot of people do get into it that I've introduced it to. And then I'm going to kind of sneak an honorable mention in, because I was thinking about this the other day. The Smokin' Popes anthology, It's Been a Long Day. I grew up with the Smokin' Popes, literally. I know them. And it's great. I think it's a great album because also it shows them going from their early songs when they were called Speed Stick and they had a different drummer, to from 1991 up until like 98, 99, when they had really refined their music. They're on a major label at the time. And their songs became more serious and more mature. So I think in a good sense, the earlier songs are fun in that kind of childish way that we all like early Blink-182 songs for and stuff like that. But then you also see the same progression of a band to go into more serious subjects. And their musicianship as they grew and as they added Mike Fellenly on drums and Eli Caterer on second guitar, shows on how well they went from a 3-chord punk band to actually a band that was asked to open for bands like Jawbreaker and Morrissey and things like that. So I think it's a good way to also show that a lot of these bands that you may think are just snotty punks actually kind of put out good music. I mean, they and some of them matured into good music, and some of them still like playing both styles still, and it doesn't mean they're a bad person. That's what I would say.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, no matter. I learned of No Matter because you handed me one of their records and was like, review this band, and they're fucking great.
Yeah.
I had Teen Punks and Heat by Screeching Weasel on my list previously until I got anxiety and changed my list for a 20th time. But let's move on to you, Steve.
Oh boy, it's my turn now. Oh man. First off, I have a few thoughts here before I even go into this. So first off,
let's hear this.
First off, this is a terrible task. Okay, this started off as like, I don't know, pick 3 masterpiece albums, and I wrote down 15. Okay, I wrote down 15, and then
was that Blues Traveler 4?
No, it was 4 Non-Blondes.
Oh, okay.
I have a funny Blues Traveler story with another time, but yeah, this is a frivolous task, okay? Because then you changed it, and you're like, 3 albums that someone who doesn't like pop punk or is too elitist for pop punk that you could show them to make them kind of come around, and that is a frivolous fucking task. That is not happening. I think if people don't like pop punk, there's nothing that I'm showing them. If they're that anti pop punk, I don't think there's anything I can show them to really get them to turn around. But maybe there's a 5 to 7.5% that maybe have some, they could get an inkling of something that they might like. So I guess I can't go through my 15, but compared to Jeff, even compared to Chris, mine is going to look like bubblegum chewy, happy pop punk music. So yeah, I'm super glad that Chris gave a Blink-182 album, because I was going to take them out of the 3, and I felt like I was going to have nightmares because I did that. So thank you, Chris, for putting that one in there. Awesome. So I guess I'll answer the frivolous task, and I will say, if somebody doesn't like pop punk music, and I'm trying to convince them that pop punk music is cool and pop punk music deserves your ear for an album, I'm going to start with Yellow Card's Ocean Avenue. The reason why I go with that one is that this is to have a violin in a punk rock band, I think, is something that is very, very outside the box. At least the time that it came out. Maybe some songs here or there by other bands may have, some stringed instruments that were featured on a track here and there. But Yellow Card has Sean Mackin, who is a whiz at the violin. He's got a live presence where he's doing backflips on stage, and he's rocking the fuck out with that violin. And you can rock out with a violin. I mean, what is it, the staff, the bow, whatever it is called?
The bow.
I mean, you can rock. Yeah, you can rock. I've seen him do some nutty shit. But the album itself, so first off, it's got something different. It's got the violin involved. It's got something that transitioned into a pop hit. Okay, so if you don't like pop punk, but maybe you like top 40 or you like some sort of rock music, you've definitely heard Ocean Avenue, that song, because that was a transitional song that really went into the mainstream and hit. You have an anthemic, just a classic in Only One, even though that was a single. I'm talking about the singles here, but Only One is a classic anthemic singles that, I mean, they have the words "scream my lungs out," and you can literally scream your lungs out, like singing that song, whether it's about someone you love or someone you've lost, because it kind of can fit both meanings. And then come on, you got a song about 9/11, Believe That. And on top of that, there's Life of a Salesman, where he's being super genuine about like loving his father. And like, nobody loves their father, maybe until you I'm sure everybody loves their father, but nobody like appreciates what your father went through or whatever they did to like give you that upbringing, whether it was hard or soft or easy, whatever. But like when you get like 19 or 20 or 21, that's when you like understand like the real life shit that maybe your dad went through. And that's a song that can certainly help you relate to that. So it's not an album that's just like, oh, my girlfriend dumped me. So sad. It's got a lot of like feeling behind it. And it's something that an adult, it's something that a teen and an adult, I think, can relate to. So no order, I guess. One, whatever, is Ocean Avenue and that's not even my favorite songs, but I think
but that was around a time that band fucking grinded. Like, they paid their dues. They were like the hardest working band that year, and the year before that.
I remember seeing on their tour bus, like at Warped Tour, parked on the side of Randall's Island. It said like yellow card, always on tour.
Mm-hmm. No, and I remember their drummer actually wasn't very good right before Ocean Avenue came out, and I can say that because he is one of the most influential drummers of that time of pop punk music. You would see them on tour, and he'd step out, and he had a practice kit. He didn't have a pad. He had an entire practice kit, and it was just like, he'd talk to fans and stuff, but he was like, nope, got to get perfect. And then by the time that record came out, me and all my snobby friends were like, did he figure it out? Not only did he figure it out, but fucking Christ, he completely changed pop punk drumming on that album and the albums after that. So I really like that choice.
I was sad he left before their final album, which, drummers, whatever. But, I'd seen him live. And
I'm a guitar player.
I have a friend who like kind of looks like him, but just without the dreadlocks. So I always had like a place in my heart for him.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Yellow Card, Ocean Avenue has to be number one. Thank you, Chris, taking Blink-182 off my plate here. We talked about the starting line, and I'm going to put Say It Like You Mean It on my list here, because Say It Like You Mean It is a classic bubblegum kind of pop punk album, right? I loved Drive Through Records. Like there's the first record label I ever heard of, I ever cared about. And I bought all their records. I bought their compilations. I saw their Warped Tour sets where they were all together. And Starting Line was one of these bands. I thought it was so cool that it was the first band where the lead singer was younger than me. He's like a year younger than me, I think. And I remember that they had like a 5 or 6 song EP with Hopes of Starting Over that came out. And then they put a few of those tracks onto Say It Like You Mean It. But I think this is like front to back one of the greatest like pure pop punk records. So if you don't like pop punk, fuck you. I'm gonna just put this down your throat. Like listen until your head explodes, or you're like, you don't have to stay, but I hope you do anyway. Like it's one or the other. It's got a track like Best of Me didn't really cross over into the mainstream, but it was like kind of close. It's like you were at a frat party, like, or you're playing beer pong. Someone might have put that track on. It might have been me or Chris, but it was this album I thought was like super iconic. There's some harder songs. I think it ends with a banger in This Ride. And I've always loved seeing these guys live. I like their whole discography, but we did a full episode on Starting Line, and I think I sang the praises of Say It Like You Mean It a little bit more than the others. Leaving is my song about this kid losing his virginity, right? I mean, that's fun. Listen to that. Listen to it.
I'll never forget when I found out that Kenny was like almost my exact age, because I looked at like this pile of songs that I was working on, and I was like, motherfucker, like I suck. He's so good. Like the songwriting on that album is so good. The mix on that album is amazing too. Good choice. Yeah.
So I'm going to go number 3. I should probably read all of these off. They all have their merits. I won't. Yeah. I won't. I'm going to stick with, this was really hard to pick the third one. I'll honorable mention Newfound Glory self-titled, but the thing is, if you don't like pop punk, there's no way you're going to get into his voice. I think Chris is not a big fan of that voice. Jordan's voice is tough. No?
I mean, I'm a really big Newfound Glory fan, but I remember like John Feldman kind of sang with the fucking Metallica guy. What's that guy's name?
James Hetfield?
Yeah. He sings the words. And so somebody I played music with very early on in my life paid a lot of attention to little isms like that, and even taught me one of the most important things about singing pop punk music is if a lyric starts with a vowel, to not start it with a W. Now, if you listen to any MXPX song, one of my favorite bands, he always says everything, because it's easier to hit the note if you start it with a consonant. That being said, my like super analytical friend, when we first got that Newfound Glory record, I was like, dude, check this out. This is the best record ever. And he was like, why the hell does that guy sound like that? I'm not gonna listen to this. But I think he figured his voice out though. And I mean, we've all seen him perform live and sing with perfect pitch. So I think that's a good choice as well.
But that's not the one I'm putting on there because I think
was the honorable mention.
Yeah, that's a hard one that's not a convert. That's like if you like pop punk, I think that's one of the greatest albums. But my last one to potentially convert somebody is going to be something corporate, Leaving Through the Window. Again, I'm gonna go back to my thought process when it goes to Yellow Card, and like let's try and grab somebody with something different. So let's get some soft piano rock that's mixed with punk rock. Maybe somebody who likes indie music might get into this. There are definitely some bangers and some awesome choruses on this album. I mean, it starts off. I think it Woke Up in a Car is the first track. If you see Jordan, by the way, if you have a friend named Jordan, which I happened to have when this came out, it's great because it's basically all about like fuck this guy Jordan.
My little brother's name.
So maybe you can relate. I don't know. If you see Jordan, he makes me sick.
No, every ex-girlfriend that he's ever had has played him that song.
There you go. That's perfect. So
that's a good choice.
I think Andrew McMahon has got a great voice. He's actually a really good pianist. They did have an awesome live performance. I've seen him like light his piano on fire and like stomp on it and do some crazy shit. Constantine is not on this record. I wish it was because I could talk about that one in and of itself. But the album all the way through is awesome, and it's something that's a little bit different. And then, if you'd like, that's another thing. You might know Andrew McMahon from like the alternative scene right now because he's got Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, or maybe you heard of Jack's Mannequin. I feel like they were something corporate is more pop punk, where Jack's Mannequin, it's still there, but Andrew McMahon kind of moved it over into like the indie scene, the alternative rock scene. So big fan of him and big fan of this album. So that's my 3. Maybe after this, I'll give you guys the other like 12 or 11, but this was hard.
Hey, I really appreciate you guys getting over yourselves and coming up with these lists. It's really not that hard. You just pick 3 albums. There's all sorts of good albums out there. So,
all sorts.
That being said, I started coming up with my list today, and I got incredibly anxious while shouting at my daughter. And for some reason, I got fixated. I'm just going to pick 3 EPs that I think are fantastic. So we're going to start with the Renaissance EP by MXPX. Their lone Fat Wreck release. I think that it's great. I don't know if the Renaissance was kind of a play on like we're going to hone back to our core or whatever, and I don't know what their relationship is with Fat Mike. But as soon as I heard the record, I was like, this is a Fat Wreck release by MXPX. I think every song on it is good, and if you like quick skate punk double time drums, it's just fantastic front to back. Next, Look Forward to Failure by the Ataris. And this is kind of the same ideology. This was a Kung Fu Records release. It was the biggest Kung Fu release at the time. They had been loyal to, Kung Fu had been loyal to the Ataris forever. They trusted Chris. They gave Chris band members and drummers to work with to do Anywhere But Here. And this is really just kind of like the punk rock fat that got cut from Blue Skies. So there's a few of the same songs. San Dimas is on this EP, as well as Blue Skies. But there's also just some re-recordings of some Anywhere But Here songs and a B-side from the Short Music for Short People compilation. So they wrote and recorded 2 or 3 30-second songs, and Fat Mike chose the one that he did, which is the Radio Still Sucks. And here you get to hear some other stuff, which is kind of neat. Last, I'm going to pick New Year's Day, Adam Lorbach's Project After Homegrown, put out an EP right before My Dear. I want to say it was on MySpace Records, but I might be making that up. I know they were on a MySpace Records compilation. And I even went as far as to annoy Adam on Instagram today to confirm a few things about this EP, and I found it on an old hard drive because I don't think that you're going to find it on Spotify. But really, you have Adam Lorbach at the peak songwriting. He's taking what would have been probably the best homegrown release ever made from the demos that I've heard, and applying it to a female vocalist that I think can emote maybe even better than he already could. And Russell Dixon, his drummer, was one of the best drummers that was playing punk rock around that time. So that EP is fantastic. I think if you handed those to some buttholes, they'd maybe reconsider the genre.
Why not just go? Why not just go full-fledged Atari's album? Why the EP?
Because there's something about Look Forward to Failure. I don't know. It was cool. I grew up listening to the Ataris a lot, and I still swear by End Is Forever and Blue Skies. But there became this part of Chris that I kind of felt like he started to take himself maybe a little bit too seriously. And I think that is ultimately what kind of bit him in his own ass when he got signed to a major and put out a cover song and got famous and got really jaded from that. There's just something about Look Forward to Failure where it's, I don't know. It's like Joe Escalante. Like Escalante was just like, let's put out an EP of these little bangers. And while I like any man that was born in 1984, like scream the lyrics of some of those Blue Sky ballads while crying about an ex-girlfriend, when you get a little older and you're happy with your life, you're like, it's like a dashboard. It's like, I don't really have a reason to cry over this song ever again. Not to shit on those albums, but
just make your wife mad and scream, why do I never seem to learn that love is wrong and girls are fucking evil?
But I will say, that's I Don't Want to Fall in Love Again, right? The song
that one was
talks about, the song about letting all the cats run free and all that stuff, the 6/8 song.
It's I Won't Spend Another Night Alone. Okay.
They re-recorded that song when they did So Long Astoria, and it's fucking kick-ass. And they were, and this is what kind of sucks about Chris Rowe's predicament, right? Was he got signed to a major. He was very active on mp3.com, which I was a huge user on. And so he was trying to be as transparent as possible. He was sharing board mixes and demos from the record and explaining how the record executives were asking for this and that he didn't sign to the label until they promised him all of his creative freedoms and stuff. And so it's kind of like and Les and Jake has had to deal with this many times too. I've got to talk to them about it, where you find, like, you read the punk news blurb says like Les and Jake is promising an album that sounds like Screeching Weasel, and then it comes out a year later, and you're like, come on, guys, like who put you guys on to do this? And that's I think why Chris Rowe ended up just like erupting and trying to put out that Bright Eyes record when he did.
But that was all the stuff before that was good. So Long Astoria was good. That's where he got jaded after Boys of Summer became a fucking giant hit.
Yeah.
But End Is Forever, Blue Skies, Broken Hearts. I mean, these are classic albums. The one afterwards, it's escaping me right now. But that one, I was like, what?
It's called like ... Into the Night or something.
Into the Night, yeah.
All right.
Yes, man. Really cool list. I got to tell you that. But what's interesting is there was nothing on there about anything related to the Munsters or the Munsters theme. Anything. Did you forget? Maybe there's a mistake.
No, I mean, I know that Take This to Your Grave is on Steve's list. And so, we might as well make it my honorable mention. And I mentioned, we talked a lot about Fall Out Boy when I was on your podcast. I got to see them performing that record when they were too poor to pay for the mixes, and they played that album so well that, I have a thorn in my ass about new Fall Out Boy.
We found that out.
It's very funny.
And Dad hit Mom in the kitchen table. All right. Well, those lists are fantastic. Other than that, I kind of wanted to just talk about the future of the podcast. Do you have some big things in the works? And I know, Steve, you probably have some merch and stuff that you want to try to hawk off on us.
No, I do not have. We do not have any merch.
Yeah. It's a nice shirt, man. Where did you get that?
It's a fancy shirt.
Listen, we're having fun doing this. It's just about us having fun. Yes, we've lots of stuff. One thing that that happened when we did this podcast is we thought that pop punk was dead and nobody was making pop punk anymore. And we were going to make this podcast and talk about how great it was. And what we found out is that there are people that are still making it. And actually some of the shit is really good. So we've had a lot of bands that are just like, local, grinding it out, some signed, mostly unsigned. And they reach out to us and they say, hey, you want to come on the show? And as long as they sound pretty good, we'll always give them a shot. We'll have a conversation. So, after our first full year, I'd say coming up, what you can expect is what you've heard. So we're going to reach out to national recording artists, some nostalgic acts, if you will. We are going to talk to new bands that are on the scene right now. We're going to talk about specific albums. Sometimes we do shows where we just talk about one album. And then sometimes we do episodes where we talk about a band and go through their entire discography. So those are kind of our 4 or 5 different types of episodes we have. We want to keep the content fresh. We want to rotate it so it's not the same shit every week. Definitely never going to have back Mike on the show because you called us douchebags. But
I'm douchebag Mike.
That's I guess it was all right. You can come back, Chris. What do you think? Did I miss anything there?
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know if you hit on the concept episodes either, but we like to mix in stuff that isn't even necessarily related to interviews or bands. We've done movie soundtracks. We've done, other stuff related to just off the walls. We want it to be fun, and that's what we want to continue to do is just have fun on the show and continue to talk to people in the scene that make this kind of music. And like Steve said before, we're just a couple of guys that love this music. We've loved it since the early 2000s. Me, I guess, even the late 90s, and we just want to tell everybody about it. And we want to continue to do that.
Fantastic. Well, High School Never Ends podcast. Be sure to check it out. I wanted to thank both of you guys for joining Jeff and I today.
Thank you for having us. You can check us out at HSNE Pod, like High School Never Ends Pod on social media. And then to listen to the show, we're on all the podcast apps, Apple, Spotify, everything. Wherever you listen to a podcast, you can find us.
Excellent.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Should I do it in like a soft melodic tone?
Whichever. I mean, or your best radio voice. Hi.
Yeah.
Newfound Glory, self-titled. Phoenix TX, self-titled. Good Charlotte, self-titled. Homegrown, Kings of Pop. Spitalfield, Remember Right Now. Brand New, Your Favorite Weapon. The Matches, Yvonne Dahl Killed the Locals. Mest, Destination Unknown. Panic at the Disco, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. Taking Back Sunday, Tell All Your Friends. Say Anything Is a Real Boy.
Beautiful.
That's gonna be our outro for the credits.
Yeah.